The very first day I remember walking into the Houston office and there was nobody in the office. It was just, I couldn't find anybody. I walked through the glass doors, walked around, and then I sat down at one of the chairs, and it was about 7:45 in the morning. And this tall guy comes walking in the front door, and he sat down in one of the desks and sat back, and he says, so you're working here? And I said, yeah. And he said, so how do you like it? And I said, I have no idea. So I started to chat with this guy. I had no idea who he was. And then the MIC finally came in and introduced him. Cecil Palmer introduced himself to me, and then went with this man back into the front office. And then one of the meteorological technicians came in and started to show me around and the things that I was going to do. And I said, who is that guy? And he says, that's Dick Haldren. He's head of the Weather Service. So the very first person I ever met in the Weather Service was the head of the Weather Service. I had no idea who it was. Had no idea. So. The one that really always sticks out in my mind is post-Hurricane Katrina. We lost contact with the Slidell office, so we were scrambling, trying to figure out, what happened. The eye went right near the office, and Ken Graham, one of the guys that worked with me, we came up with a plan. We were going to go sort of quote-unquote rescue the office. And it was probably 80% Ken's plan and 20% mine, but took two different crews down to Slidell. And so we loaded up supplies and food, and we took, Larry Van Bussum went with us. We took satellite dishes so we could get them internet connectivity. And we went down to the office and basically helped the office get through a pretty hard time. So we went and patched some of the employees' roofs with the plywood, and we cooked for them. We did all kinds of things. It was an interesting experience. I was only there for 2 days. Ken was there for about a week. I slept underneath the conference table. There was nowhere to sleep. And about 2 months later, they sent me a nice little plaque. It's the only one that I put up in my office when I was in Fort Worth. I got all these plaques for doing stuff over the years, but it's just one of those things where you get to help out your fellow employees, and it was a good experience for me, fulfilling experience. The one thing I always carry away from John is that John listened to everybody in the office, listened to the management team. Didn't mean he was going to do what you suggested, but you always had your say with John. And you always felt like you were treated fairly. And life is not fair, but I think John tried to be as absolutely fair as he possibly could. The other thing about John, too, not only just listening, but John never came across to me as, I know everything, I'm sort of the MIC, I know everything, and I'm going to teach you something. I always felt, even though he was my supervisor, I always felt that my words were important to him. I always felt like I was treated respectably, and again, the fairness thing always came back in. He always was fair and compassionate toward his employees, and so it's a good learning experience for me to be 7 years under him.
Rusty, thanks so much for your time.
Sure.